Libra darling, what if I told you that something life-changing is already on its way, something powerful, divine, and financial, but it's moving so quietly that only those who are still enough to feel it will receive it? Let me be clear from the start, this message is not a coincidence. If you're hearing this right now, it's because the universe has aligned the right moment, the right frequency, and the right messenger to reach you. A silent financial miracle is approaching you. Yes, UN November 17th is the day it begins to reveal itself. This is your moment, Libra. Not the noisy kind, not the flashy breakthrough you see in others. This one is sacred, subtle, wrapped in divine timing. You don't have to chase it. You only have to remain still long enough to let it find you. Now, pause for a breath with me. Just one. Inhale. And exhale slowly. Do you feel that slight tug in your chest? That's not anxiety. That's alignment. That's your spirit whispering, this is real. Stay. The reason you were drawn to this video today has little to do with algorithms and everything to do with alignment. The astrological sky is opening a rare energetic gate under the nurturing influence of Virgo moon in harmonious aspect with Pluto, and it's activating financial restoration for those who have sown seeds in silence. Libra, you've spent months, maybe years giving, forgiving, holding space for others without needing recognition. You've kept your head high through disappointments. You've shown grace in places that tested your strength. And now, without needing to prove anything, your quiet reward is being written into motion. And here's the catch, it won't come with fireworks. It won't announce itself with applause. Instead, it will flow to those who've mastered the art of stillness. The tarot confirms this, the High Priestess. 6 of Pentacles. The Star. 4 of Swords. Each one whispers the same truth, abundance doesn't need noise. It needs readiness. So I ask you, Libra, are you ready to receive in stillness? Can you let go of the urge to hustle and instead become the ground where grace can finally land? Now more than ever, I want to invite you into a moment of soft power. Not to beg. Not to chase. But to open. And if you feel this message tugging at something deep inside you, don't ignore it. Comment below to confirm, I am ready. I am still. I welcome my silent miracle. And if there's a number that's been following you lately, maybe 7, maybe 17, maybe 111, I want you to drop it below too. Not just as a sign to me, but as a signal to the universe. You're listening. You're present. You're open. Let me take a moment to thank you deeply for being here. For every like, every comment, every share, and every subscription to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your energy fuels this space. Your presence gives these messages life. And believe me when I say this, Libra, you will want to stay with me all the way through this video. Because what the universe is preparing to reveal today is nothing short of extraordinary. And if you're still enough to hear it, you're already halfway there. So tell me, my beautiful Libra soul, what led you here today? There's something quietly powerful about the way the skies arrange themselves, not with noise, not with dramatic displays, but with precision that whispers rather than shouts. That's exactly what's unfolding on November 17th. The astrological alignment between the Virgo moon and Pluto is not just another celestial conversation. It's a rare energetic code being activated, a quiet key turning in the lock of your financial destiny. This isn't loud abundance. This is sacred provision, designed to find those who've done the deeper, quieter work. The kind of work that isn't posted or praised, but carried silently in the way you hold yourself, love others, and show up every day when no one's watching. If you've been sensing that something old is trying to return, but in a refined, elevated form, you're not imagining things. This particular Virgo moon, with its earthy clarity, is shining a soft light on things you may have once called lost. Whether it's a delayed financial breakthrough, a forgotten opportunity, or even a promise you made to yourself years ago when you were still in survival mode, this moment is saying, it's not gone. It's simply been circling back in divine rhythm, waiting for you to be ready to hold it with new hands. And that readiness is not about pushing harder. It's about becoming the version of you who no longer needs to chase, prove, or convince. That's why the tarot today is so aligned, so spiritually layered. The High Priestess shows up first, not to announce anything flashy, but to invite you inward. She represents that part of you that already knows what's coming, that doesn't need proof to believe, that recognizes timing by energy, not clocks. She is the sacred pause between question and answer, between intention and manifestation. Her presence today confirms, if you're still, you'll hear exactly what you need to know. Then comes the Six of Pentacles, returning balance where there was once lack. Financial reciprocity. A divine redistribution. Not always from the source you expect, but from the one that's most aligned. You may receive support or clarity from someone who once overlooked you. You may find money from a forgotten account, or be called into a role where your gifts are finally honored with fair compensation. What matters most isn't the form, it's the return to balance. It's the confirmation that nothing you gave was ever lost. The star arrives like a breath of clean air, soft but revolutionary. It's that moment you finally believe again. Not just in the miracle, but in your worthiness to receive it. The star doesn't come when the storm is beginning. She comes after the storm, when the air is clear, and you're finally able to look up again. Her energy is not just about hope, it's about healing that quietly rebuilds your belief in better days. And finally, the Four of Swords reminds us this is not the time to run ahead. This is the time to rest with purpose, to recover your inner rhythm, to gather strength not in movement but in stillness. You've already planted the seeds. Now is the time to hold the soil, not dig it up looking for proof. The roots are doing the real work underground. In many ways, this phase mirrors something I've often found in life itself, that sometimes, the most extraordinary shifts begin in the stillest spaces. When we're not distracted. When we're not striving. When we're simply open. It reminds me of how faith works, not as blind belief, but as quiet agreement with something bigger than us. Something already moving on our behalf. You don't need to understand every step. You just need to stay in place long enough to be found by what's already looking for you. There are moments in life when strength doesn't look like power, it looks like restraint. When speaking your truth would have been easy, but you chose silence to preserve peace. When walking away would have saved your pride, but you stayed out of love. When the easy path was to close your heart, but instead, you kept it open even while it ached. And Libra, if this feels familiar, it's because you've already done more spiritual work than you give yourself credit for. What you've survived isn't just personnel, it's sacred preparation. Not for a test, but for a responsibility, the kind that only souls with refined grace can carry. You weren't overlooked in those moments. You were being observed by the laws of energy, by the quiet intelligence of the universe, by the pattern of divine order that never misses what is true. And while the world may have mistaken your softness for fragility, the truth is, you were being shaped into someone who can carry blessings without distorting them. That's a rare kind of strength, the kind that transforms scarcity into generosity, pain into wisdom, and isolation into spiritual clarity. What's important now is understanding that this season you're entering isn't compensation, it's culmination. You're not being rewarded for being a good person in a moral sense. You're being entrusted because you've become a safe place for abundance to land. And that shift begins when you stop asking, "Why did I have to go through that?" and start realizing, "I went through that so I would be ready for this." From an energetic lens, your past isn't defined by the pain itself, but by what you did with it. Every time you chose compassion over reactivity, that energy was recorded. Not by a judgmental system, but by one that returns things based on resonance. And the frequency you've cultivated through patience, humility, discernment is now sending out a signal that says, "I'm ready for more." Not because I need it to feel whole, but because I've already become whole. The abundance is simply matching my inner atmosphere. We live in a world that glorifies reaction, speed, and noise. But the deeper laws are slower. They're subtle. They gather evidence over time, not moments. And this is where your Libra nature, your innate ability to choose balance even when it costs you comfort, becomes your most powerful calling card. You're not just receiving because it's your turn, you're receiving because you held the line when others let go. You stayed in alignment when it would have been easier to bend. Sometimes, what seems like delay is actually divine incubation. Like a seed beneath the surface, you weren't being buried. You were being grounded. You weren't being forgotten. You were being fortified. And now, the harvest is beginning, but not in the way others might recognize. It's not going to explode all at once. It's going to bloom in layers. Through unexpected peace, long overdue recognition, and provision that feels quiet but deeply personal. You may not remember all the nights you cried and kept going. But life remembers. And even when you thought your faith was silent, it was growing roots. In many ways, this is what quiet miracles feel like. They don't force themselves into your story. They wait until your story has the space to receive them. And so if you're finding yourself in a space of reflection right now, wondering why everything feels soft but uncertain, this is the moment between breakthrough and becoming. Trust it. Let your past speak not of pain, but of preparation. You've been becoming the kind of person who can hold beauty without fear, wealth without guilt, and purpose without apology. And that is no small thing. That is divine readiness. Stillness, when chosen with intention, becomes one of the most powerful spiritual technologies we can access. It's not passivity. It's precision. It's a sacred yes to alignment rather than control. Libra, in this season, your ability to remain steady, centered, and unshaken is not only your strength, it's your calling. The world may praise hustle, reaction, and declarations, but the cosmos? It rewards attunement. This part of your journey isn't about pushing for outcomes. It's about allowing yourself to become the environment in which divine provision can safely land. There's a quiet truth many people miss in transformation work. the transition between old and new versions of ourselves rarely arrives through thunder or fanfare. It arrives in silence, in subtle redirection, in the breath you take before you speak, in the impulse you resist because you know the timing isn't right. What you're being asked to embody now is not urgency, but trust. Trust that your preparation has already called the blessing in. Trust that your worth has already been seen. Trust that your job now is to hold the energy steady so that what's meant for you knows exactly where to land. That's why stillness is sacred. It's not giving up. It's tuning in. Think of the moment right before an archer releases the arrow. Total silence. Absolute focus. Not hesitation but calibrated calm. That's where you are now, Libra. Not stuck, but suspended in perfect alignment. From this space, you're invited to take gentle care of the physical vessel that holds this energy. Simple rituals are not small acts. They are holy agreements with what's unfolding. Drink water not just to hydrate your body, but to conduct energy with more clarity. Water is a carrier. When your cells are nourished, your intuition is clearer. Choose foods that mirror the vibration you wish to hold. Green tones like avocado and spinach support the heart chakra, grounding you in generosity and self-worth. Golden foods like turmeric, ginger, or roasted squash invite in wealth frequencies and confidence. Dark berries and deep grapes feed your root, reminding your body it is safe to expand. Soak your feet not to escape the world, but to honor your journey. Salt draws out what you no longer need. Warm water soothes the nervous system, inviting your energy to settle. When you slow your pace, you show the universe that you're not chasing it means you're aligning. And alignment is magnetic. It doesn't pull with force, it receives with grace. If you feel called, write your affirmations not in desperation, but in quiet agreement. Declare to the air, to your spirit, to your cells, I am fertile ground for miracles to take root. Let those words sink into your body. Let them shape the posture of your breath, your shoulders, your voice. Stillness begins on the inside. But it radiates. It becomes a beacon that the unseen recognizes. Even your color choices this week matter. Olive green anchors your energy in quiet dignity. Amber yellow draws golden opportunities. Plum purple opens your inner knowing. You don't wear them just for aesthetics, you wear them as frequencies. As statements. As invisible prayers wrapped in fabric. And if you've been seeing the numbers 4, 6, or 8 repeatedly, know that these are not just coincidences. They are cosmic breadcrumbs. For reminds you to stay grounded and stable. 6 restores balance, especially in relationships and finances. 8 signals that abundance is moving through systems, through cycles, through divine mathematics that never forgets what you've invested emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. You don't need to act to prove anything right now. You only need to remain still enough to become the answer to your own prayer. You are not waiting. You are welcoming. This is sacred calibration, and you, Libra, are the one it's been waiting to meet. Sometimes what we're asking for has already been sent, just not in the form we expected. Libra, it's easy to believe that restoration means getting back exactly what was lost. But the truth is, evolution rarely repeats the past. It reimagines it. And what's returning to you now is not a duplicate of what slipped through your hands. It's something greater, wiser, more aligned with the version of you that's finally ready to receive without compromising your peace. This is the sacred art of divine refinement. What once hurt you may be reshaped into healing. What once confused you may now return as clarity. Think about the parts of your life where love was withheld. Where your kindness was met with indifference, or your loyalty was never matched. Now, as your frequency shifts and your heart heals, love may return, but not necessarily from the same person or in the same setting. It may arrive as a connection that honors your growth, sees your softness as strength, and reflects the depth you've cultivated in silence. A love that doesn't ask you to shrink. A love that whispers, "You're safe here." This is not a repetition of your past. This is the correction of it. The same goes for missed opportunities. Maybe someone took credit for your work. Maybe a door slammed shut right before you walked through it. And for a while, it felt like loss. But now, you're being gently led into something quieter but more stable, something that requires less chasing and more becoming. The open path ahead of you isn't a detour. It's the version of your purpose that no longer needs to fight for attention. It speaks for itself. It flows. It fits. Even the people who once rejected, dismissed, or ignored you, they are not your anchors anymore. Not because you've hardened, but because you've softened in the right direction. When you shift your focus from needing validation to honoring your vibration, those voices simply lose volume. They don't hold the mic anymore. They fade into the background, while your own inner voice becomes clear, calm, and confident. This is what it means to be recalibrated, not just emotionally, but energetically. Imagine a seed beneath winter soil. It hasn't disappeared. It hasn't failed. It's been underground, absorbing the nutrients it needs. Protected. Held. Not by force, but by design. That's been you. For months, maybe even years, you've been quietly collecting wisdom, integrating pain, learning boundaries, and reclaiming your joy. You didn't go dark. You went deep. And now, as the energetic climate shifts, the surface begins to crack. Not with chaos, but with life. That soft fracture you feel in your spirit? It's not breaking. It's blooming. This is the beginning of something better, because you are better. And what's returning to you is no longer based on who you were when you first asked. It's based on who you've become. Life doesn't always hand back what was taken, but it often delivers what was promised, in a form you're finally strong enough to hold. That's the kind of full circle grace we sometimes only recognize after the fact. So when the blessing arrives, don't second guess it because it looks different. Don't dismiss it because it's quieter than expected. Let it in. Let it settle. Let it shape your days with the gentleness you now know you deserve. What's coming isn't payback, it's provision. And it's not delayed. It's on time, measured to match the soul you've become, not the pain you've carried. You've done the deep work. And now the deep blessing has found its way home. The blessings that are coming to you now, Libra, aren't arriving because you've been perfect or patient or polite. They're arriving because you've become the kind of person who can actually hold them without losing yourself in the process. In a world that often encourages us to chase outcomes, accumulate rewards, or prove our worth through constant action, this truth can feel radical. But it's not your striving that magnetizes miracles, it's your embodiment. It's not effort alone that calls in prosperity, but the frequency of grounded readiness. That is what you've been cultivating. Quietly. Consistently. Sacredly. You are not the seeker in this story. You are the sanctuary. And that changes everything. There is a point in every healing journey where the focus shifts from asking for more to preparing to receive. From hoping something will find you, to realizing it already has, it's just waiting for the right version of you to receive it. This is that moment for you. The energy you've built through your stillness, your softness, your resilience has sent a signal into the universe. Not a desperate plea, but a calm invitation. You are not calling in what you used to desire, or realigning with what's meant to stay. When you become the ground where abundance can safely land, you no longer need to manipulate circumstances to your favor. You simply hold your space, breathe deeply, and remain true to the values that have shaped you. Prosperity doesn't need to be chased when you're vibrating at the level of provision. You're not proving you're worthy or reliving it. That's why the blessings headed your way are different. Not only in form, but in function. They're not arriving to fill a void, they're coming to amplify what you've already nurtured. We often imagine financial breakthroughs as sudden windfalls or dramatic surprises. But in truth, the most powerful abundance enters quietly, because it's not just about the money. It's about the trust. Can you hold more without falling into fear? Can you receive without shrinking? Can you expand without abandoning the stillness that called it in? That's what makes you a vessel, not just for wealth, but for purpose. There's a simple truth that modern life often buries beneath urgency. What's meant for you will never bypass you when you are rooted in integrity. It will recognize you not by appearance, but by vibration. Not by how loud you ask, but by how steadily you've prepared. That's how miracles move. They seek out the spaces that are steady enough to support them. And that's who you've become. In times like this, it helps to do more than wait. It helps to tend. Tend to your energy. Tend to your space. Tend to your words. Speak blessings over yourself. Feed your body foods that remind you of your rootedness, earthy greens, golden warmth, deep fruits. Surround yourself with colors that reflect stability and magnetism. Let your actions, however small, reflect your inner agreement that you are already the person who holds wealth with grace and dignity. So instead of asking, "When will it come?" try asking, "How can I become more open to it today?" That's the question that softens resistance and invites flow. Remember, you're not chasing the miracle anymore. The miracle is already circling you. And when it lands, it won't be a reward, it will be a recognition. A sacred return to the part of you that always knew. You were never waiting, you were becoming. Libra, my dear soul, if there's one thing I want you to carry with you after this message, it's this: you are no longer someone waiting for a miracle. You are the miracle that the universe has been preparing all along. And the stillness you're being invited into, know it's not about doing less. It's about doing it differently. It's about letting what's meant for you find you without resistance, without fear, without apology. You are no longer in pursuit of abundance. You are becoming the safe ground it seeks. You've done the healing, even when it felt like breaking. You've kept your heart open in a world that often asked you to close it. You've trusted your instincts when logic would have told you to quit. And now, all of that quiet, unseen war kid is speaking louder than any words ever could. It is calling blessings in behind the scenes. You don't need to explain your worth to anyone. You don't need to prove that you're ready. You are. And what's coming for you now isn't chaos, it's confirmation. It's not noisy, it's direction. It's the arrival of what's always been yours, just waiting for your frequency to rise high enough to match it. So pause for a moment. Let your hands relax. Let your breath return to rhythm. And ask yourself, gently, what would happen if I stopped striving and started trusting? What if I no longer needed to ask the world to validate me, because I finally understood that I've already been chosen by something far greater? What's one thing you can do today not to force progress, but to open to it? Can you drink water slowly, like it's a sacred act? Can you put on colors that remind you of richness, softness, sovereignty? Can you write one sentence to your future self not as a wish, but as a quiet agreement that it's already on its way? I know life has tested you in private ways. I know some of your deepest sacrifices have never been witnessed. But I promise you, they were not overlooked. The universe has been keeping record not to punish, but to align. And alignment is exactly where you are now. The shifts may not feel loud, but they are lasting. They're not here to impress others. They're here to carry you home to yourself. So if this message spoke to you even in a small way, and keep that resonance inside. Write it down. Speak it aloud. Claim it. And if you feel safe, I invite you to drop a comment below and say, I am ready. I am still. I am the ground where miracles can land. Your words matter. Your presence here matters. Every like you share, every comment you post, every subscription you offer to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, it's not just supporting this channel. It's feeding the energy of this collective field. It's saying, yes. I believe in sacred timing. I believe in silent transformation. So thank you from the depths of my heart for walking this path with me. Thank you for showing up with your energy, your faith, your quiet power. And if no one has told you this lately, let me say it now, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming.